What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 game development live stream where we're back in our Gas Cores project, or Deck Knight game project. I always mix those two up. But today we're going to work on weapon leveling. We're going to see what we can do to introduce, obviously, a leveling system within our weapons, and then we can introduce that value into curve tables so we know how we can update damage values, or if we need to be able to update some weapon-based statistics, such as like for the bow and arrow, like maybe we can increase the max arrows through the weapon leveling system. And things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we do have a base weapon class in C++. Maybe I could just introduce it there as our starting point, just because, you know, we're doing a lot of blueprint work. And ideally, at the lowest levels possible, it would be nice to be able to start putting stuff into C++, just so it's kind of in there. So let's introduce that. It'll be a I would say it's a protected value. And we'll do, I guess it could be an integer, right? Doesn't have to be a float. Probably doesn't have to be that big of a structure either, so. Yeah, level 1. So yeah, okay, so int. I guess it's just int. And then we get a public getters and setters, I suppose. So we can do a function. Whoops, forgetting it, and then and setting it. Blueprint. Oh, what is it? Blueprint door? Category. Keep opening it on the other side. We could probably make a leveling sub section, so we can have it all kind of neatly compact. This one will return it, right? So we're gonna do int get weapon level, turn that weapon level, and then there is set weapon level. So but I want to call it I don't know if it's set. I think we just do it increment weapon level. And I don't think it needs to take anything, it's incrementing, but we could add something to the level to add, so equal 1. And this will be just plus equals. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. And then eventually we'll have to do ImGUI as well to like start like leveling stuff and granting stuff. So now that we have some sort of level that we can track with, we also need to start providing like a weapon like leveling table, I suppose. And that one will be a little trickier, I'd imagine. Just kind of depending on what we want to do with the leveling. Because it can be something as simple as this damage value, so you can have like a base weapon damage simple curve table. But maybe we would want to have like a data table that would then apply specific gameplay effects at certain levels. So I need to think a little bit more about that. But you know, let's start from 0, I guess. So we'll start with the bow. So bow weapon base. get ourselves a cute kitty alert. But we'll just have to think out loud. What do we need truly? So we have this one, like just a stat initializer and stuff like that, right? But we might want to have something more, like maybe this actually can be the weapon table that we kind of pull from. And like basically when we apply the weapon stuff, like we would have to base it off the, I guess, the level of it. I guess that's another part of it. I'm trying to think what would be the best way to handle this. Let's just assume we can use this table, right? So, and this is like the default bow, right? We could have other bows later down the line, so we could just start from there. So, default bow score, and then basic arrow, attack damage. It said it's like, I don't know, 5. And we would just need to add new columns and stuff. So let's say, you know, weapons can be upgraded to like 5 levels from now, right? So we could say, hey, you know, level 2 plus 10, 15, 20, and 25. Just have numbers. Not saying it's balanced anyway, right? And then a max out arrow count could be, you know, 5, 8, 12, and then like, or 10, 12 or something. So you have up to 12 arrows. And the arrow generation time, you know, can get smaller over time. And then the regeneration count can kind of stay flat. So what I'm hoping we can do, so we would also need to kind of have a reference to this table, potentially. I don't know if it's something the weapon should store. Probably would make sense though. And we could probably add it to the base class, I assume. Can I get... I could put it under like stats or something. Is it you per table? Weapon stats curve table. That's valid. Let's see if that'll work. And then once we can get that to work and we have a reference to that table, then we should be able to do things like in the actual basic arrow attack, get the right table, get the weapon level. Just kind of read the value and pass that along. Because we would also need to start updating as well the data into the projectile itself. Well, let's see if that's valid. I think also in weapon, there, it's gas course weapon, stuff like this. Excuse me. So maybe I should put things under like same stuff, but for now it's whatever. So we do have a stats, so I should be able to go into base under the show. I should be able to show. Very good, right? Gameplay. I'm not seeing. I have to open up the full blueprint editor. Oh, here we go. Task force weapon. Right. So we can put this there. So now we have stats. Should be able to maybe pull out some information as well. So let's go to the basic arrow attack. Oh, go into basic, and this is where we kind of pass in the information, right? So, we got PP arrow base. Yeah, I'm curious as to the best way to handle this because we have like damage stuff like get projectile damage, and right now we're doing from here. We have evaluate curve table row. Curious what would be the best way to pass this information into it. Because like, what does the base do? So BP projectile example. Projectile damage, and we just we have damage curve table row. So I wonder if I can pass that along. This is what? Could be a variable, right? Projectile damage, damage curve table row. It's done in code. So I need to make it available on spawn, I'd imagine. So that when we pass this along, it'll be just somewhere here, right? Let's look. I don't know how to make it expose. I think it's called expose on spawn, something like that. So let's find it. Work online here. Hopefully it's straightforward. Okay, so it's a meta. Cool. That. Little curve table. That. We can recompile. Cat's looking at something. You go to sleep again? There you go. Good job. But yeah, I need to start thinking a little more deeply about. So property cannot have both disabled. So it can't be edit defaults only. So maybe edit anywhere. So I'm trying to think about how to make, I guess for arrows, for example, for the player at least, have like a generic class that's just like, hey, this is the arrow class, and then based on information from the player and the weapon, it can kind of construct the arrow that it needs to spawn. And which with damage value, like it would be nice that if I didn't have to make 5 different, like I could make a base arrow class and then a fire arrow, an ice arrow, a poison arrow, whatever kind of arrows that we want. Or if I can just make a base arrow and then have like a data asset or something as an override. So we basically say, hey, spawn an arrow, but with this data asset override. So it knows to say, hey, spawn, fire effect, spawn this type of arrow, spawn the sound and all this stuff, and then it can just then look into like the damage properties and all to know the general behaviors that it needs to have. But one thing at a time. So yeah, range attack basic. Now we have damage curve table row. So we go to get projectile damage. Then in XY is then the next problem, I think, right? Because we need to know kind of what level to pass in. We could argue, I think it would be better just to make it a value that we can read out from. So we could make something that's similar here. So we can call it int. So that's valid. And weapon level, like I guess it also depends for for enemies and stuff. They won't really have a level, I guess. So maybe there needs to be some differentiation there, but yeah, again, one thing at a time. Whoops. Compile that. Because yeah, maybe during this week, we'll think about it a little bit more. Hey, Asteraxar. What are we making? We're trying to make a game, obviously, but we're trying to do a combination of Hades and Slay the Spire. We want to try to mix, that fast-paced kind of action gameplay, so mixing deck building elements into it. So, you have a weapon, you have a class, hopefully down the line classes, but for now you have primary, secondary weapon. And you basically use those weapons in adjacent to cards that grant you other abilities, like active abilities, grant you passives or boons, kind of like in Hades. And you just try to survive waves of enemies, while while enemies try to also use cards against you. I think kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh style, where you as the player are, controlling the character in that meta of the game, but you're also playing a card game on a meta of the level. And so when you're fighting waves of enemies, there's another AI that's playing cards against you as well to buff their enemies or to debuff yours or cancel the kind of cards you have or try to just make things a little more complicated. So right now we're just working on the weapons themselves. We already have some examples of cards, so I'll just quickly play. So we have our character, we have daggers, and then we have a bow, an arrow, and we just have simple dummies that we can beat up for now. But we also have cards that you can manipulate and grant and then use. So for example, that's my fireball card. So you can grant multiple, and just, use it twice, So things like that. Is it my first game? No. This is a hobby game. I work in the AAA game industry. I worked at People Can Fly, currently work at CD Projekt Red. So this is just me trying to learn, keep learning, try to get better at what I do. And if it becomes a game, awesome. But, just something to keep the creative juices going and try to get better. Right now we're trying to introduce weapon leveling, scaling. So, right now we have, damage curve row and weapon level and stuff like that. So, we can introduce it now, I think. Pass it along correctly. So what we would need to do is table. Is there like get row? Row? Because maybe that's not the best way to handle it. Because if I were to make this a variable, right, I would have to assume, because I would have to make it something, right? Because I can't really set a curve table row. I guess I could technically make it like this, I guess. So do this and then its name. But also not super great. That has to be written like an F name. Because again, like these are kind of written pretty good. All the art and animations and stuff, they came from Fab. I'm not an artist by any means or animator by any means. We did change some of the timings and retime some stuff, but all the gameplay and all the code and stuff like that comes from me. But yeah, we found some good assets that we're working with, and we got hit reactions, we got damage systems, we got all that good stuff. How do I want to write this though? Like, this is just in general not easy to work with. Because obviously I can plug this in. But I guess what I was also, I would also have to keep consistent naming conventions too between these tables, which also maybe is not great. Well, gotta think out loud a little bit. Hey, thanks for the follow, Sensitive. Much appreciated. Hey, well. So what would be the most effective way to add kind of quote-unquote generic curve information into the projectile that we're spawning? That is the question. Yeah, this is gonna be a me sitting here and thinking kind of stream. Are you making a multiplayer game or a single player? I'm making a single player game. It originally started as a multiplayer, but yeah, multiplayer is just too much. Especially for just one person trying to do it as a side thing. Because maybe I don't need the prefix. Sells a bot. Remove that person. Oh yeah, maybe let's rename this. I'm assuming if I rename these things, I'm gonna have some issues with the gameplay effect that we're doing in the initial setup. And I'm also curious if we can actually, yeah, I'm kind of getting sidetracked and everything. You should ban the term stream boo. They bomb too much. I do. Oh, really? Yeah, maybe I should do that. I'm not very good about managing the stream aspects of stuff, so luckily the audience isn't too big just yet, so I can kind of manage it and just see it when it comes up. But yeah, good call. So let's look at the emitter real quick, because yeah, everything broke here. So let's go max arrow count. Arrow count. Generation time. Count. And I should probably have an internal event for when the weapon increases in level. What's the word I'm looking for? I think it's UE. Not deprecated. Oh, I'm having a brain fart. I need to make a delegate. So let me. I always forget the syntax here. Are you doing C++ and BP system? Yep. So I'm trying to do a mix. Try to get better at coding, and whenever I need to do some quicker iteration stuff, I do it in Blueprints. So right now is early stages of a weapon system. A lot of the weapon stuff is happening in Blueprints at the moment. There's like all this messy logic and stuff like that. So I want the player to basically have a primary and secondary weapon. So by default, it's the daggers and a bow and arrow. And the daggers have a basic combo with a hold version, so you can charge and you do stuff like that. And then the bow, you have a charge version too. And so you can like hold and spawn multiple arrows and shoot multiple arrows and have it regenerate over time, and you switch between the weapons. I want the camera angle to be somewhere up here. So, some of the details that you see up close maybe don't matter as much. But yeah, I want to be able to control more of the weapons, have weapon leveling and stuff, so that's what we're working on right now. But yeah, you have a basic combo system. You can do a bit of damage, you have a dodge, you have a dodge attack, so you can zip around like that. You can shoot. We have ricochet on the bow, which it's not going to be base behavior. And then you have these cards at the bottom. And you can basically on the right, there's these orbs that are your card resource. Think Slay the Spire. You can grant cards, and they get slotted in on the bottom left. And so I have 2 stacks of the fireball, so you can activate them, and you can do fire damage and start doing a burn. And yeah, these dummies just kind of hit, react, and they throw healing bombs. So that's all they're really doing right now. But yeah, all the animations, all the art is just from Fab. I just repurposed as much as I could, use some retiming tools to get the flow how I need them to be. And so we have that kind of basic combo, but we also have a sword, but we're going to have to update it to be a shield kind of thing. But just to kind of showcase being able to switch between weapons. Let's go to elf character. We can go into our weapon component. We can switch this to, I think, sword shield base. Right now it's just a different, I think it's just a sword. But yeah, we have these animations. So you have the basic combo here, and then you have a hold, which is some AOE thing, but we'll change that later as well. And yeah, you can switch between those weapons. And so I want to be able to have either classes or just your way to slot in different weapons, and then the cards you get amplify those weapons, change how they work a little bit. So while in addition having these like more powerful active ability cards that you can do that make you do more fantastical things, like spawn tornadoes or lava or volcanoes or things like that, and then have cards that act as boons from Hades or just passive cards. Some are instant effect cards, some could be spawn summon cards and stuff like that. So for now, not much But, you know, we have some basic manipulation of the cards. You can grant them, and you can just, you know, slot them in, do something. Oh, you're doing a co-op game in Sandbox? Nice. How's the multiplayer side of that stuff going? Because that's one of the main reasons why I stopped doing multiplayer, because it was just too hard to test. And it was just too time consuming for what I wanted to do. Yeah, pretty much. That's why I kind of did not want to deal with it. But yeah, one of my first jobs, my first 2 game development jobs I had were both multiplayer. I worked on Aquanox Deep Descent, and then I worked on Outriders, but never in the capacity where dealing with multiplayer was a problem for me. Mostly, I was just doing gameplay design. But yeah, for my own project, for my own sanity, just something for me. I don't want to deal with multiplayer. So I gotta figure out the syntax here. I don't know if it needs to be a single param or anything. So there. Dynamic multicast delegate doesn't have to be 1 param, and then it would be like on F on weapon level changed. I think that's all it really needs to be. If it's no params, and then we can have the so it doesn't have to be a U property. Change, and then I should be able to on commercial engines. Yeah, it's so difficult. They should improve this to make it easy on commercial engines at least. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make some, like, I guess there's some things they could possibly streamline, but like for me, the problem is like testing. Like if you're a solo developer and you're having to test co-op, you either have to rely on strangers or friends and family to play with you, or, you know, working in multiple instances, and sometimes things are just too difficult to test like by yourself. So one thing I wanted to remove, I suppose. So I want to declare this actually in the CP. Yep, broadcast, right? Let's execute if found. That's enough? We'll see. Well, let's see. We'll have to compile that. And then we have to test it. But yeah, again, I gotta think about how I want this information to be passed to the projectile, because maybe I need to rethink how I'm considering that, because there's like get projectile damage, and it assumes that I would construct it in such a way, but maybe it's not going to work. I mean, Unreal would be amazing if all the replication system is integrated by default in a template every time you create a blueprint or something. There's so many things that you can forget along the way. That's true. That would be an interesting, I guess, maybe, yeah, plugin or framework where, like, if it assumes multiplayer, then yeah, you have like all the things set to replicated and need to be replicated, like, and also the variables and stuff like that. Like, because you know, sometimes it's hard to make assumptions on what you need to do for blueprints. So if you needed to automate something, you know, I don't think it would be 100% perfect all the time, unless, you know, you just had like I guess, options. So when you had created a variable, you'd be like, do you want it to be replicated server only or client only? And you kind of just pick that option, and then it just kind of fills it out the way you need to. But then if you need to change it after you've already created the variable, like how does that look like? It's tough to say. So yeah, let's go to weapon base. We should be able to go to yeah, assign on no. So on weapon, get weapon level, increment weapon level. Yeah, I can't really. This declare dynamic delegate multicast or dynamic multicast delegate. So does anything change here? No, but probably in here now I can call broadcast, right? Okay, so file again. Yeah, maybe this week we'll start thinking about how we want to handle projectiles and instantiating them to work with weapon levels and stuff like that. Because some things would be weapon level. I don't know if that we would have like character level per se. Maybe, but maybe weapon level is better to have it. So you can unlock new weapons, and each weapon can have its own weapon scaling and. On a character level basis, you could have things that increase your health or your stamina, whatever you want to call these resources. But yeah, one thing at a time. Now I think I should be able to assign it. Or maybe it should be available. Assign. Still nothing. Okay. Is there a weapon level anywhere? On weapon level. So, sure, yeah. There. So it has to be blueprint assignable. Okay. Third time's the charm, gang. So let's try it again. And I get like, and when we make a weapon level upgrade, it will never be in the during actual gameplay, so there shouldn't really be an issue about quickly removing and then re-adding the initializer there. I've been using UE for like 3 years, and 2 was working with a partner to make a game that seems project got canceled due to health reasons, so I'm doing my own, waiting for his dad to recover. Oh, okay. So I'm making this thing, and the funny thing is, first touch with BP's always I was on material shaders, sequencers, and other game-related stuff, but never touch logic, because animation sequencer is so powerful for bringing life to maps without have to code, like all the ducks moving and other things. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Unreal makes things a little bit more accessible, but I feel like other game engines are making it more accessible as well for, I guess, non-technical issues. Yeah, I've been using Unreal since 2011 or so. Like during the Unreal Engine 3 UDK days, up until Unreal 4, right now 5. So I'm familiar with the engine, but obviously things have changed within the engine, trying to keep learning stuff. So some practices have kind of held true. I really wanted to do level design, but then I just got more into systems and gameplay design. So that's kind of where I found my crutch, I suppose. Now let's assign on what? Yeah, there we go. Bam. So I should be able to couple things. Like, we're not out of the woods yet with this example, because when we do instantiate things, we do say give ability to system BP, but we don't really pass in any information. So let's look at ability set. So, like, to me, like, I wonder if I need to do anything special. Because, yeah, when we grant gameplay effects, for example, so we have effect to grant dot effect level, which doesn't really say anything. So we would need to also be able to pass in this information. Let's look. And I'll look in both base. Gameplay. Equipped. And we have this emitter, right? And then there's GA arrow generation, and then like ability level and effect level, like all this stuff I think needs to be more read from the weapon itself. Logic I got never very much into because I was feeling like it was not my thing and other people got talent, so I decided to learn parts of the engine that nobody really touches. For the code, I'm more artistic kind of person. That makes sense too, you know. It's good to find a niche. But yeah, with the work that I've been doing, I don't do VFX or anything, but I'm like 2% familiar with Niagara. I know what I need to do, and I can at least try something. But yeah, most of my stuff is in gameplay systems. Maybe I need to make a child of this ability set class and really just pass along levels information. Because yeah, alternatively, well, I guess I could, but in this give to ability system BP, yeah, I would also have to pass it along. Because the alternative is just grant the gameplay effect manually to the player, but I would like to use this ability set. Yeah, it's definitely impossible to learn everything for sure. So as long as you are familiar with the abstract concepts of some other things, you should be able to still be equally as effective. So if you know some of the abstract concepts of animation and audio and visual effects and gameplay and game feel, like, you can at least have conversations with those that will implement those things for you or help you implement those things. What am I trying to do? I feel like I have to pass along also a level. Because I know with the cards, I haven't touched the cards in a while, so let me look at how I did the cards real quick. Cards have levels, I think. Go activate card by instance. We go to activate card. We pass in the card level. And we do give to ability system. Okay, so we have. version for the base card ability set. So I wonder if we can also have a version for weapons. Again, I feel like there's just a lot of duplication of logic. Thinking out loud. What's the CAS, I think? Gameplay effect. Yeah, that doesn't have some of the stuff and has some custom written logic. So maybe it also makes sense to do something similar. No. Like, I'm kind of just like delaying the inevitable. I'm just thinking what would make sense. Let's just bite the bullet. Let's. I don't know why I closed the editor. I'm gonna need to open it again. Let's keep open the base card ability set. Just have to potentially copy a good portion of it. I don't know if I need to do all this like async loading and stuff like that. It's not a big deal. So tools, C++ class, just data asset, right? What's the oops. Asset. Here, public game weapons. This class, so base weapon set. Seems like it'll be okay. One thing at a time, so split right. Let's also find the base ability set. I don't think I need to copy everything 1-to-1, but a good portion of it. That. Yes. Go. Base weapon set. Don't care about minimal. Goodbye. So let's start from the base one, which is this, yeah? So we need probably all of these things. So we'll grab all of you. You. So definitely don't need input tag. Again, one thing. So F, yes, of course. I'll say F base weapon ability set gameplay ability. So fine. I don't know what's wrong with these includes, but let's do 4 declarations and just call it a day. Yeah, we don't need input tag or anything, so I don't think we need ability level either. Oh, that one is pretty straightforward. Gameplay effect. You. Again, we'll do the same prefix. Play effect. Again, we don't need effect level. Attribute set. Just for consistency, we can add it. Maybe we just don't need it. Right. And then the handles and stuff, so we can pretty much grab all this too. And same. I can just write this, right? So new base weapon ability set. Object. Initializer. Another initializer. Okay, initializer. I don't think I have to write it like that though. That down. More or less like this. You. Fine. Yeah, I don't like that it's, you know, it's all in different places. I don't know if it'll ever be managed in too many places, but we'll see. We can also add the private section. That, and bam, bam. Now this stuff, we're gonna have to change namings and stuff in a second. So the ability. That. That, but then yeah, the granted handles are also something I have to rename. Right. So we have the ability, gameplay effect, attributes, and then granted handles. Names. All good so far. Now we can go into the ability set. Let's do the card version. So the card version is give to ability system, and we have some unique stuff here. So I'm just gonna grab this instead. We'll change instead of card level, we can say weapon level. I mean, we could make it general and just say it's level, but again, whatever. Then this would also be int to weapon level. Over card level, callbacks, duration properties, things that don't matter. Now I should hopefully be able to just generate some stuff. So, a lot of the stuff can, I hope, come from the base ability set. without too much issue. So there's also these handle stuff, so I need to do the same. That. Hey, thanks for the follow, Adoralzo. Much appreciated. You are officially the 850th follower on Twitch, so big thank you to you. But also, again, big thanks to Sensidan for being 849. Still much appreciated. Now we have the initializer, doesn't do anything, so now there's give to ability system, which I believe we can copy, but then we have to just make sure we pass in all the relative information. So so we need to change the names of everything, so it's gosh. Hey, Diabolit, thanks for the follow as well. Hello. Yes, fellow designers. What's up? Oh, and thanks for the raid. Didn't even realize it was a raid. Much appreciated. How's everybody doing? Once I'm able to clean up this mess here, I can show you a little bit about the project. In the meanwhile, I can at least direct you to a video on my YouTube channel where I talk about the project, just so you have a better idea of what I'm going for. So definitely check it out and subscribe over there. Oh yeah, you see gas for sure. Definitely full of gas over here. Let's update our namings. Update a bunch of stuff here. So, good. Baby steps. We don't care about input tags, so we can eliminate that. Here as well. Ability level. We're gonna do a couple things here. But yeah, since I have a bunch of people in here right now, let me at least show you a little bit of what we're doing. So, you know, we have a character and we have a primary weapon and a secondary weapon. So, for example, the bow and arrows, the secondary weapon, the primary weapon is the sword. We have a basic melee combo, and you have like a special, which is this. But you know, we're gonna be updating a bunch of stuff down the line, so take it with a grain of salt. But we're primarily working on the dagger weapon in conjunction with the bow weapon. So let me just show you the dagger weapon as well. So we have the daggers. We have also a basic combo here with the daggers. So you have a hold where you can do something like that. And we have a basic dummy character right now where we can just test stuff on. So you can smack him. We have damage numbers. We have damage types. So our bow deals burn damage. We also have cards. Basically, you can activate cards, slide them into your active ability bar, and activate them. So you can turn into a fireball, apply burn damage. And then with the bow, we also have a charge, so you can shoot multiple of them, deal more damage. And we also have, just as an example, you know, a ricochet ability of the bow, so you know you can just kind of shoot one enemy and it bounces in between the different enemies. And so we're just building up these systems, working on weapon leveling currently. But the basic idea is that you'll be able to have your primary and secondary weapons, and then have cards that can inject into those weapons and make them do unique things. update your resources, but also have active abilities, so like the fireball, but you can also have like big magical spells, passives or boons, kind of like Hades, be able to like passively use things. So you could say, for 20 seconds, all your arrows are ice arrows or fire arrows, or they deal 10 more damage, or for 30 seconds you increase your max arrow count. And then also have things like instant effects and summons and stuff like that. And then what I want to have in addition to that is when you're fighting these groups of enemies, there's a high level AI as well that's playing cards against you too. Because I want the high meta fantasy of the game to be like you're going from card shop to card shop playing tournaments, and the card game that you're playing is this game, but you're kind of controlling the meta level of the cards, and then you're controlling your actual character. And I want to challenge players to be able to balance between deck building and just real-time action gameplay. Try to see if I can find a balance that's entertaining, that shows for progression, to keep the game fresh and challenging. So that's in a nutshell what we're trying to make. So we have some foundation there. We're dealing damage and stuff. The enemies can shoot healing arrows or healing orbs or whatever we want to call them. We have some basic projectile stuff. So slowly getting there. But yeah, right now we're working on weapon leveling, and I need to create a new ability set for weapons so that I can inject the weapon level in when granting information to it. So we'll see what we can get in the next hour or so. So if this is a project that you're interested in, sounds interesting to you, definitely follow here on Twitch or on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe there, and you can also join the Discord if you want to just learn and keep growing as a team. Yeah, so cards will be something that you're activating. So in between rounds and stuff, you'll be able to build your deck and you draw cards from it. And on the right-hand side, you'll see these yellow orbs that act as your resources. So you'll be able to activate your card. So right now you can have, I think I broke something. Yeah, crash, whoopsie doopsie. But yeah, you'll be able to activate the cards, slot them into active or passive slots, and they're active for whatever amount of time. So if it's passive for a shorter period of time, if it's an active, as soon as you activate it, and we'll have some progression to say you only have one active ability slot, then you can have 2 or 3 and whatever amount. Same thing for passives and things like that. So trying to see if I can make it interesting. On paper, I like the idea, so hopefully it works in practice. But yeah. From time to time, I try to make video devlogs on the project, so if it's something that interests you too, just make sure to check them out. So yeah, ability level. I think this has to be a float, I think, right? So I need to do like... I don't know if I can just do a... that. I don't think I can. Oh, but let me double check how I'm doing this in the cards. Part of the cards. Card level in 32 card level, so we don't need to add this. Source object, sure. Ability should be valid. So I need to, okay. So instead of forward declaring, I need to include it, I think, fully. some of these places, right? Okay. So again, we gotta just remind ourselves what we're doing here. For the weapons, so next error is here. So can I just pass the weapon level? Yeah. It's the last error. Weapon level. Should be all Gucci there. So now give to ability system blueprint version. We need to copy some stuff from the base one, I think, as well. But I mean, we do some more stuff here, so we should be able to say this. And sure we use the right namings for this. Where's our handles? Here we go. That. Weapon level. So now we do, so yeah, wrong here. So pass in weapon level. That. Thing. Oh yeah, we gotta do take from as well for BP. So this, bam, bam. So hopefully that is enough. So let's see. And next to me here is our kitty Lola, aka Boo Boo. We got her little napping basket. I know you can't see her too super well. Turn the camera a little bit. Let's see her basket. Tired kitty. Okay, so things compiled, so awesome start. So we need to, I guess, for both the bow weapon and the dagger weapon that we had to set up on, we're gonna have to reset some stuff. But one thing at a time. So base. Should also put a bow weapon. Oh, base. Also, the data asset. So we're going to reparent this one. So we don't forget what we did. Screenshot. File. Can you not reparent data assets? Do I have to just recreate it? That's a shame. Okay. So it's gonna be under miscellaneous data asset. I guess I could also add it as a option in our common classes here. Would be fun to do. Forget if that's in default engine or default editor. So let's look. And yeah, for those interested, the project is also open source. At least the code is. None of the content, obviously, because a lot of the content comes from Fab, and I can't give that stuff out for free, obviously. So just some of the code base. So I try to update it from time to time after like a week or two of streams and stuff. So if you're interested in how some of this stuff is set up, have at it, check it out. I'm not an engineer by any means, but I try to do things as well as I can. Okay, let's go to config and either in default game or default engine. So we have directories. We have the weapon trail settings, input buffer settings, card settings. I don't think it's in here. It's in default engine. I think it's in here. I'll show you what I'm talking about once I find it. So let's look for the word base or just card, honestly. Okay, so card has more stuff than I thought. So maybe it's not in there. So default game, default engine. I don't think it's in default editor. It could be. I doubt it though. Okay, it is in here. So yeah, in default editor, you can specify asset classes. So we can add base weapon. I think that's what it's called, base weapon ability set. I'll have to check it out in my current core server. So base weapon ability set. That's why I named it, right? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Let's take a look. Yeah, you base weapon ability set, so let's do that. So base weapon ability set. That again, sorry guys, make sure I have it checked out. Bright screen alert. Sorry for the eyes for those watching. Okay, gotta go to config, default editor. Out. Now I should be able to save this bad boy. There you go. So now I should be able to see what I can create it by default. So let's see if that did the trick. So how was everybody's weekend? Hopefully everyone had a chance to relax and chill. I know I did. I was finally able to fully beat Dragon's Dogma 2. At least the first playthrough. I don't know if I'm going to play it again, at least not for a while. Now I can kind of focus fully on Crimson Desert, and also I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West, so I'm going through those. And then on Steam Deck, I'm still... I don't know if I want to continue playing Haste. I liked Haste, but yeah, at this point I kind of got out of it what I wanted. And then I started playing, I think Dicey Dungeon is what it's called. Dicey Dungeon. That one's pretty cool. I'm trying to get some good ideas for like how I want the roguelite structure to work like in this game for me. So yeah, now if we go to miscellaneous and we go to data asset, we see base weapon ability set. So we can grade it. Just do DT, weapons, bow, default, equip ability. Kind of work the same, except, you know, less data that we don't really need. So the first thing is, I think, the arrow regeneration. Gameplay effect is the emitter. That should be there we go. Now, in the weapon base, we have the equipped ability set, which, if I'm not mistaken, sorry, wrong base. If I'm not mistaken, is in blueprints, right? So I should be able to weapon ability set. Just fix all this stuff. So now I should be able to grab this, give to ability system, ASC, and then weapon level. I guess we should default it to 1, just to be sure. But we should also now be able to get weapon level. And then it should be take from. This is the active ability set, so and it's also active, so I need to do the same thing, I think. So the weapon ability set. I'll have to do a cleanup of a bunch of places, but best to do it now, right? So good. Ability system. Yeah, weapon level. It's the take from. Probably want to make some helper functions and stuff like that, or events even. But now I should be able to go into bow base, for example. Go into equipped. Go to equipped. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Clear. Clear. Where's the bow default? Daggers default. Okay, so maybe it is just this base one. There. Yeah, we didn't do a really an active one, but that's okay. So we can remove this old, hopefully. Then we have to fix daggers as well. Default, and there's this DT daggers, default ability set. That's currently nowhere applied, I think. Right? Yeah. So miscellaneous data asset base. DT weapon daggers default active ability set. This is doing so it's just this, right? So test weapon. Great. Boom, boom. And now, which I assume, I think there shouldn't be any bugs. Let's see what happens. Does it crashes? No. Awesome. Switch bow, but yeah, so dagger should be giving us 3,000 health, if I'm not mistaken. So let's look. Or do we, maybe we didn't update the thing. So weapon, no, gameplay, active, daggers, set. So hopefully now I should have 3,000 health. I do, okay. So it seems to work, and then I use bow, it's active, not, and then bam. So obviously, we're not going to do that in the real game, but just an example of like when that weapon is activated, we can get some special logic in there. So now, what I want to do, we have this on weapon level changed event. Add a dispatcher. And we call on weapon level changed event. And then what we can do is we'll have to make some helper functions as well. So remove or I guess reapply equipped ability set. So we could just do this. Yeah. Owner. Yeah. Ability system component. Take from. If. Pull. Yeah, the way we're incrementing stuff, maybe we should be able to pass in the value. That's so we can make debugging easier when we make an IMGUI thing. Yeah, but yeah, for those watching too, I want to show off some of my debugging tools that I'm pretty proud of. A lot of the work that we did was for it. For example, you know, we have a list of all of the cards that we have in the game right now. A lot of them, there's only a few, and like they don't really do anything. A lot of it has, you know, missing information and stuff. Oops. But I have some cool logic in it so that you can kind of click this information and open the assets to see where they are and look at them in real time for the cards. But we also have some stuff for attributes, so we can open up our player and we can update information for the attributes. So for example, we have bow arrow counts, so we can add the max arrow count to be 10, and you'll see 10 arrows spawning in. We can make it 2 or 3 or 1 if we wanted to, or 100 if we wanted to, but honestly, don't really want to do 100. Could if we wanted to, and you know, the regeneration of it works pretty well. We have card resources, so we can, you know, set our current to 5, and we have like all these things, and make the max energy 10, and you can see all this stuff kind of updating in real time, and it's all working pretty well. And then we have the same for health, and we can do things for damage multipliers. We also have critical chance and critical damage multipliers. So if I make those both 100%, you know, we'll see crit damage, and now we're dealing 6 damage instead of 3. So we got a lot of stuff that we can integrate into our systems, which I think is great. So I think we laid a decent enough foundation. And now we should be able to reapply the equipped ability set and also maybe do the same thing. So reapply active ability set. Grab this instead. Get. Plug it in. Now at runtime, we need to now we have the weapon inventory. I think that's what I call it, or weapon. I always forget the name of the component. Yeah, player weapons component. I should hopefully be able to hook into something. Some debug command just to do it for now. Crash, there you go. So equal key and debug key. Debug minus. Oh, so let me just see. Print string. Increment. increment. Please. Increment. Increment does something, but decrement doesn't. I could do backspace maybe. Decrement. Increment. Okay. So I hope I can simply, for example, do a sequence. Increment weapon level. One. Oh no, it's the same one. And then these will be both -1. So. See? So if I were to hit plus, I'm hoping, like we should, not to suspend things, but in theory, we have max arrow count, right? So at level 2, we should have 5, and up to level 5. So let me see if we get some values changed. So let's look at our weapon attribute set. We have 3. So now if I hit plus, I have 5. And I do plus again at 8, 10, and 12 at high, max level, right? And I should make sure I tap things, because we'll have to see. But yeah. And we can increment, decrement. But yeah, we definitely have to clamp level as well. So I have to have some information somewhere, because I don't know holistically where this would, like what my max leveling be. So we might have to just put just a hard value in for now. So let's go to weapon base, increment. Let's do plus equals, well, I guess I have to say if I say clamp, so F math clamp weapon level 0, and then max weapon level will have to be somewhere, but for now, 5. So can I say weapon level equals this? Maybe I can make a parameter. Let me also make another function. New function blueprint callable category source leveling void over level and that thing that might need to be something that's more data driven somewhere, but for now it's fine. So maybe some weapons could have more than 5 weapon levels or something. Maybe like a legendary one can have like 10 levels or 8 levels or something, just to make it even more powerful later down the line. We have to invest more in order to reach that. Could be interesting. So in theory, that should work. So again, we're going to be doing this clamping. We're also introducing this weapon override weapon level, just so in our debugs, we could just kind of set it to whatever we wanted, not see clamp it correctly. And it could be interesting to have like enemy cards while it's active, like decrease your weapon levels. So if that were to be the case, maybe these things would need to be attributes. We'll have to see how that could work. But yeah, the goal is to kind of safeguard. So, you know, we can do plus. Basically, we could plus as much as we want, and obviously it's going to reach a cap. And then let's open up our debug to look at the weapon stats. 12, and then I could just decrement, right? Just 10, 8, 5, 3, and I could press minus as much as I want, but shouldn't go past 0, at which, to be fair, the min should be 1, honestly. But yeah, different problem for different day. So in general, that works, but again, the next problem I need to be solving is how I pass some information into the projectile system, because again, you know, I don't know if I want to be constructing stuff like this, like, because each weapon would have its own curve table, I'd imagine, but with like identical rows in it. I'm just trying to think what would make the most sense to pass that information into this table. I gotta sit here in silence for a minute and see if I can think of anything right now. It's like maybe instead of passing in like the damage curve table row and everything, could just be, you know, a value like this, right? So projectile public Get exposed on spawn. Projectile damage, but then now how do we get this right? Because again, this is susceptible to human error. Because yeah, typically, yeah, damage curve table row. Wonder if I could make a specific row, because yeah, there's bow weapon stat in it, but like the specific table, you know what I mean? So like, how can I realistically get this information? You know, of course I could do this, right? Where I can just evaluate curve table row. Do this, and then the row name is this. And then weapon level. It's found, we pass it along like that, right? In theory, yes, that should work, but I don't see how that's scalable. Let's see if that even works. Because if we look, let's look at our table. So stat init, weapon, basic arrow attack damage should be 5 by default if this were to work. And it is 5. And then if I increment, it should be 10, 15, 20, 25, right? So it works, but is it clear? Don't know. I have to think about it a little bit more. How I would want this to kind of work. Because to me, I would think of it like, because I guess all the player bow attacks would use this same ability, right? Unless, like, I don't know, a special bow can override it to be something else, but like, is that clear enough? I don't know. But we got weapon levels, so it sort of works. And so I would want you to be able to level up the weapon, like, after, you know, X amount of rounds, or something higher, some leveling means, you know. But I think it's a decent start. I don't know what you guys think. We got something. Gotta think out loud for a bit. Do I have to rethink the base class? Like, there's BP projectile example. But yeah, there's projectile damage that takes in the damage curve row, which is fine, but like, I just wonder, how can I elegantly get this curve row from the weapon? Because like, the alternative is, you know, make curve row table handle, pass it along like this, pass along the weapon level like this. And then this would be just, you know, row name. So base damage, row name. And we just kind of, what bothers me about it is this, it's like an F name that as soon as I change, that row name, like if I decide to change this to anything, there's then a dependency here to change this variable name as well, which I don't like. But in practice, it's the same thing, where if I were to just do this instead, this, and then yeah, this XY is different. There should be another variable that we need to pass in because this won't work by default. It doesn't really know what to do with weapon level. Guess it should be in here, right? So projectile damage, weapon level, this. In theory, it should work the same. 5, 10, 15, 20, and then dropping down, 15 again, then 10, 5, right? So in practice, it's the same thing. It just bothers me that I'm constructing it this way. And then if I decide, like, again, like too, like if all the, because how I do all the weapons as well, it's all state tree based. So ranged base. So yeah, all these states for the weapon, so for the basic, and then to the hold. Like, is there a way for me to grant the ability and also pass in like the appropriate curve row? Like, do I need to? Can I get that information to the weapon? I don't think so. Like, maybe I can make a task that says like get curve row or something, and it could just be there. So I just had to update it in the state tree, but again, still pretty hard dependency. Be just the nature of the beast, you know what I mean? But you know, again, it works, but not super happy about it. I'll need to think about it. But I think that's where we're going to end it today. So thanks for watching, everybody. It's always appreciated. For those watching and are new here, we try to stream every Tuesday and Thursday, if we're lucky, for maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours. If you want to support, just follow here on Twitch or subscribe on YouTube. All that will be appreciated. And again, we have a Discord, so if you want to learn and grow with us, we have a pretty small Discord server. But all are welcome. Share the projects, ask questions about Unreal and Gas, share stuff, participate and just talk, hang out. All that would be appreciated. Since we have a good amount of people with us today, and again, thanks for the raid. It's all appreciated. So if we had some people here, we can just pass along the love here. So I haven't raided in a while. I always forget the syntax here. So raid, and then this person I don't really know, but we'll see. So we'll raid. So send your support to all the creators. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you soon.
Deprecated landscape materials, deprecated main menu, world map. Jesus Christ, damn. Thank you for the raid, Jevin Sharis Game Dev. I think he's a game dev. Could be unsure. We might need to ask. How are you doing? What have you been working on? We just started, and we are working on the world map a little bit. I made the second map. Is that your game or is it Halo? Maybe he made Halo. We don't know yet. Boogie, calm down.